Hey, welcome back. And I want to talk today about a narrative. This narrative has been bothering me in retrospect my entire life, but in more recent days, because of the political things that's going on right now, we got an election coming up. It's been really bothering me. So I wanted to bother you with it. So with that said, let's get into it. So an identifiable group of people, of which about 90% lived in the southern portion of what we now call America, was subjected to an institution that at the time was about 9,000 years old, is old as the written language. Probably the first words ever written were, "I'm a slave," right? So literally the institution of slavery is 9,000 years old. However, at the height of slavery in this country, only 11% of the people in this country, all of them lived in the South, white, black, or other, owned slaves. And I didn't stutter, white, black, or other, right? The majority, yes, the majority were white, but okay. When the country was a little colony of the English Empire, right? The colony's leaders tried on several occasions to get rid of the institution of slavery here. But the queen and then the king and then another king was like, "No, what are you smoking? Slavery has been around as long as prostitution. In fact, slavery was the prostitutes were probably the first slaves. I mean, Asians were slaves, Jews were slaves, blacks were slaves, white Christians were slaves to Northern Africans, millions of them. I mean, y'all over in them colonies are smoking too much hemp. What's wrong with y'all? This new individual freedom and responsibility stuff got y'all tripping. No, we keeping slavery intact. Thank you very much. However, due to some discrepancies in taxes, the colonies were like, "Hey, y'all, we need to get together and tell this king to kick some rocks. And in order to do that, we're going to have to form what we call a more perfect union. Can we now get rid of slavery?" And the lords of the lash, you know what they said. They were like, no, no. And so, they were like, "All right, well, we got to get rid of this king. So let's, all right, y'all come on in. We'll tell the king to kick rocks together. Slavery's dying out. The agrarian age is dying out. We got technology rolling in, manufacturing's coming in. Slavery's going to die out sooner or later." So they got together, told the king to kick rocks. And guess what? Slavery didn't die out. You know why? Technology threw a wrench in the game, man. That proverbial wrench got thrown into the game. And that proverbial wrench came in the form of the cotton gin. And so while, hey, slavery was dying out, man, it got a, like 5-hour energy boost. Boom, it came back with a vengeance. And so, you know what they say? Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar, dollar bill, y'all. And so the lords of the lash wasn't letting go of nothing. Slavery's making me money. I'm good, right? So what happened? The abolitionists were like, "Look, we tired of talking. We got to do something." So they started to get radicalized. They started to interfere with slavery. And for the first time in human history, y'all, somebody had to come up with an excuse of why they still had slaves. Think about that. The first time somebody formed a group of people together that had meetings was like in 1732, and that was in England, and it happened in 1776 here, and it wasn't in Constitutional Hall, but what's your boy? Your boy Ben Franklin was the president of that organization. It was the Abolitionist Society, started in 1776. These people had meetings. They had, an agenda, minutes, a treasury, a secretary, all that stuff. This is the first time in human history people got together to oppose an institution that's been around for 9,000 years. Right? And so the lords of the lash had to come up with an excuse of why they actually had slavery. I'm pretty sure they were caught off guard, but what they actually said was dumb stuff like this. in retrospect. Can imagine the conversation going like, well, what are you guys complaining about? Man, we treat our slaves great. I mean, quiet as it's kept. Don't tell nobody. But a lot of our slaves got it better off than a lot of these poor whites around here that's so poor they out here eating dirt. Now, for us, we keep our slaves clothed, fed, and sheltered, whether they're productive or not. I mean, if they're infants or if they're old, we even bury them. We don't charge them for that. Hey, if they gotta go, hey, if they out in the field twist the ankle, we call a doctor. We don't charge them for that either. We got them. We take care of them. They ain't got nothing to worry about. I mean, if they working, planting seeds, or if they're harvesting, they get paid. I mean, paid in the form of food, clothes, and shelter. And when they not working, which is when they not working, food, clothes, and shelter. I mean, come on, smells like Teen Spirit to me. Or does it smell like socialism? But, I digress. And again, the Lords of the Lash are like, why you want us to set these people free? Or no, why do you want to set these slaves free? Just to starve in freedom in the North? They'll be free to starve in the North. We need to keep them here so we can take care of them cradle to the grave. Again, socialism, but you ain't hear that from me. Now the abolitionists, they had a great comeback. They were like, look, man, your black slave may be able to produce you cotton, but a free black man can produce an almanac. He can help create the boundaries. He can help survey the boundaries for the District of Columbia. What can liberty do for you? And, of course, the Lords of the Lash was like, oh, okay, I see the light. I man, how come we ain't think of this? We're just shooting ourselves in the foot. You're right. Nope. It was a war. Yeah, it was a war. And black slave owners like, William Ellison was like, hey, man, take my money. Give me them Confederate bonds. Matter of fact, take my grandson too, put him on the front lines. And you have people in what we now know as West Virginia. But those people were like, look, Virginia, we don't have no slaves here. There's no need for slaves. I got a 1 acre plot of land. What I need a slave for? Why am I going to send my poor little Jeffro to go and fight this rich man's war? No, thank you. Kick rocks, Virginia. And now we got West Virginia. Oh, you ain't know that either. You probably went to school since 1960. When, I think at some time they just stop teaching that because it went against the narrative. But I digress. But you got to imagine the sales pitch, right? I know you're poor, but I'm gonna need you to go fight this war for me so I can keep my slaves and my money. Thanks. It wasn't that simple. So how did the Lords of the Lash get the Lords of the Lash coming to a theater near you? How did the Lords of the Lash get poor whites of the South to fight a war against the interest of the poor whites? Now say it with me, y'all. Propaganda. That's right. And it went something like this. Hey, boy. Hey, you over there. Hey, spit that dirt out your mouth and come over here and let me talk to you. Listen here. These abolitionists, they want all these black folks, all these black bucks over here to marry your daughter. Or maybe even your wife. And you know what Johnny did? Johnny was like, what? Give me that rifle. And, so Johnny got his white rifle, and a whole bunch of Johnnies north and south of the Mason-Dixon line went off to catch a bunch of bullets. But the North won. Freedom won. Liberty won. And everybody lived happily ever after. We even got this solid gold coin, y'all, of this African-American woman depicting liberty. She was representing liberty. and the end of an institution that's plagued mankind as long as war, illness, and death. Now, on the other side of the coin of liberty is the coin of responsibility. Now, you can't forget that, right? Well, nope. We didn't live happily ever after, and we didn't get this coin until 2017. Go check it out, usmint.org. .gov. Now, what we got instead was the death of a Republican president, Lincoln, and the swearing in of the Democratic Party leader, Andrew Johnson, whose claim to fame, among other things, was blocking the Civil Rights Bill that finally passed in the 1960s. All right. What he's not so famous for is his assertion of the following. You know, Postmaster General Montgomery Blair, now that slavery is over, slavery is no longer the key to politics. Race is the key to politics. Let that sink in, y'all. He said this in 1865, 66. Slavery was over and nothing they could do about it. They fought a war for it, spilled blood and treasure. You know, William Ellison's Confederate bonds were worth nothing. He went broke, and so did everybody else. But what we got instead was things like the black vote and the white vote, because everything is based on race now. If how they gonna come to power? They can't be like, we want slavery, right? So they gotta come up with some other way to get votes. So you get the black vote, the white vote. Side note, you ever wonder why a white person from Finland can immigrate to the United States, wait, and then get their green card, go vote, and they are automatically a part of the political majority? Now, my people been here several hundred years, and we're part of the political minority. You know, the ADOS, there's a new term going around, Americans descended of slaves, right? We're the political minority, even though we've been here forever, right? So with this new narrative now, you know, they can't fight for slavery, so they got to get votes some other way. The effect of that is we start learning stuff about how different the races are and how unique certain attributes of African-American culture is. You know, things you can be proud of, like jumping a broom at weddings. It's a black thing. You wouldn't understand. Nope. It's straight out of Europe. It's an old pagan ceremony older than the United States. Chitlins? Nope. Straight out of Northern England. That oratorial style of preaching. Nope. Straight out of England. If you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a crude example. I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand. Yes. Because he helped Daniel out of the lion's den. Yes. He helped Gilligan get off the island. Yeah, that style of preaching is straight out of England. Oh, and we also got eugenics. So why am I doing this? I want you to see the harm that can be caused by a false narrative. Demand the truth from legacy media, our educational systems, and politicians. Before we can demand the truth from them, we have to take the responsibility for ourselves and find out the truth, right? Takes a little effort, but you know, that's what we got to do. I see something coming, y'all. I do. Like the lords of the last used the media to spread propaganda to fool lots of materially poor people. They fooled them into fighting a war against their own financial well-being, right? What they didn't want those poor whites of the South to know was that while Johnny the blacksmith was charging 50 cents to shoe a horse, Johnny the slave owner was renting out his slave for 10 cents, right? And there were plans to bring the northern factories down to the South and fill them with slaves. So with that in mind, they were just trying to hide the fact that individual liberty can lead to great prosperity for everyone, regardless of race. And on that one day, and one day, the slave can be his economic rival. That poor white man that the Lord of the Lash looked down upon to one day be his economic rival through individual liberty and responsibility. Today is happening, y'all. We have whites and blacks and other Americans fighting for BLM, Black Lives Matter. It's a Marxist organization. They're trying to usher in Marxist policies in the name of being anti-racist. It's propaganda, y'all. If you don't get anything out of what I said, get this. On one side of that coin is individual liberty, and on the other side is individual responsibility. If you want all the liberty, but put all the responsibility in the hands of the government, in essence, you want to live on a mental slave plantation. Let's vote for policies that make it easier for us to be independent and not dependent. Until the next time, peace out, be safe, come back, like, share, and subscribe.